Hey y'all, so today we are going to be using AI to help us take three different spreadsheets and combine those spreadsheets up. What we are doing is that we are looking at three sample spreadsheets as you see here, and these are spreadsheets of sample scores from ACAP diagnostic. We have one here, another one here, and the third one here. And what we are going to do is figure out how can we take this data and use this data to help drive instruction for student success. And one way for data in general to help drive instruction for student success is to help spot students who may be struggling with specific standards while providing necessary feedback to help promote academic success. And I'm going to kind of explain how that can be done with using different data sets. And we are going to be using AI. So here I asked AI to take the three spreadsheets and combine them together, and it combined the three spreadsheets together. So the combined spreadsheet looks something like this. It has all of these here. It also has all that information there. So I'm also going to just take my spreadsheet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up in Google Sheets just because I feel like it'll be easier to view that way. Go here, go to new, open, and then combine. So that way, yeah, you see how it's easier to look at all of this here as opposed to looking at it here. It looks a little bit more cleaner. So we're going to look at it here. And then from this point on, um once we have our data set combined into one, then what we are going to do is we are going to ask AI to basically take this and then separate each one of them, make separate sections for different performance levels. Okay. So then I'm gonna go here. I want to go here and say I want to find the average of my standard. So if you go here, if you see our first standard is here, and we look here, I just double click this to show like the full section, and it shows the standard percent correct. So you can find the average of these columns, the percent correct column. So I'm gonna ask find the average of the percent correct columns in the spreadsheet. Okay, so let's look at this to see. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is then figure out my average of these and click enter, and it creates the average. So then I'm just going to go through each one of these and do my average for each one of my percentage. I'm just going through and saying equal, and then once I go through and say equals, I'm doing average, enter. Equals average, enter. Equals average, enter. And I was going to use AI for this, but when I asked it to, it really didn't work the way how I wanted it to work. Okay, so now that I have all of those averages there, I'm just going back, making sure I got all of the averages. Yep. So once I have all my averages in there, now what I want to do is by looking at my average, now I want to kind of like create separate sections for each performance level and basically just have it for targeted, need support, and intervention required. And I have my averages already calculated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this file. I'm going to download it as an Excel, and then I'm going to go back in AI. I'm going to upload this file. It should be in my downloads. There we go. And then I'm going to tell it, looking at the averages for the columns for the averages for the columns. Can you create Let's see. Can you create looking at the averages for the performance levels, and you create a and you color code the columns by using the color scale below. I'm gonna say green for above 70%, yellow for 50% to 69%, and red for below 60%. Okay, so what we are going to do now is, since it could not create one, for our averages, what we are going to do first, I'm gonna kind of clean up all this so that we're only focusing on what we need. So the columns that we are not using, I'm just going to go ahead and like delete those columns because we do not need these columns. So I'm gonna go in and just delete the columns that I don't need. Okay. So now I got those columns deleted and I got them out the way. I don't need those. I'm also going to go the end of here and then delete the school code column. Okay. Now I got that delete. So since AI could not create since AI could not create the color code system, what we are going to do, we are just going to make a color code down here. I'm gonna have green, have green, do above 70%. For the next one, I'm gonna have yellow, and then I'm gonna have 50 to 70%. I'm sorry, 69%. And then here I'm gonna have red, and I'm gonna have below 50%. This I'm gonna go here just so it can be that. I'm also going to fill in and color these ones for their specific color. So green, yellow, and red. And then I'll put averages. Um, corrected, corrected percentages. And I'm going to vote this since this is my title. And this shows my average. Copy that, and I'm gonna paste it here. Have it that way. And then boom. So like all my averages are out on this line, and then I'm gonna have my color code system here. And basically what we are going to do here is all the way down here. Based off a percentage, you go down. We're gonna go through each one of these and color code each one of them based off our percentage that we are using. Okay, so once we have all of everything color coded, it should look something like this. So with this, with our green, we are going to say that our green is going to represent our students target. This is going, or yellow is going to be for our students that need support, and red is for our students that need intervention. And that is going to help us distinguish which one to use. So bring this back in some. So if I am looking at the color codes, I can see, okay, what standard, if I know that this is my standard here, the first standard here, and then we have our second standard here, I can look and see what standards are students struggling with, which ones do they need support with, and which ones do they fully understand. And by looking at this, I can then able to provide lessons based off of the based off my table here. It can help me provide different lessons for those different students. So now that I have this, and I have my list for each one of the performance levels, And the good thing about this, let's say if you was doing small groups with students and you're trying to figure out, okay, what student should I pull for a specific standard, or what students, fully understand it. You can look at this and look at, okay, let's see, red is that ones that need intervention. So these are going to be the ones that really need that probably one-on-one. If I go to my reds and I'm looking through these, and I can look through my scores, and as I'm looking through my scores, I see some hundreds. So the students that have those hundreds will not need that intervention. But if I'm looking down, the ones that have that 50 and 0 most definitely will need that intervention. Let's go here. Let's say if we see that some students might need some supports for a specific standard. I can go to this standard here and I can see, okay, so this student has 100, so they probably would not need that support. But the zeros definitely is going to need that support. So it can help to differentiate instruction based off student specific learning needs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to download this file. I'm going to download it, and when I'm downloading, I'm going to try to figure out what lessons I can use based off this planning. So like, will it be some instructional strategies or activities to do? Or even figure out, like, will be some instructional strategies and interventions for the five lowest performing subject areas. So I'm about to say, take the lowest average, take the lowest average of the performance performance levels of this spreadsheet and create some, take the lowest average of the performance levels of this spreadsheet and create five, create five, let's go back here, create, and find, the five lowest standards. Go here, I'm gonna go to upload file, click the file I want to upload. See, find the five lowest standards. And then what I'm going to do is look at what AI has and then kind of compare it to see if they pulled the lowest standards. If they did not, then we will go through it and do it ourselves. Okay, so it says the five lowest standards for student with the lowest averages are the text dependent write percent correct, vocabulary standard, writing phonics standard percent, and so then I'm going to go back here and check that. So it says the if I'm looking here, okay, that's 49. We see a 44, a 46, a 9. So we know that this 9 would be one. So that's vocabulary. We see 45, 49. Ooh, 19 is pretty low. That's comprehension. Comprehension. Then, oh, I see a 24. That's writing. Writing. That's another writing there. Writing. And then the next one, that's 40, 46. 44. Do I have anything lower than 44? Nope. And that's vocabulary. And we got here text writing, writing. So, from looking there, we can tell that some of these were pretty head on what to do. So now what I'm going to do is find some general instruction strategies for helping to improve student success and vocabulary, comprehension, writing, and say and writing. Since those were like the main focus, even though it's just three, when I look back, there were those were the lowest ones. It was vocabulary was the lowest ones, comprehension and writing. Even though there were like some separate vocabulary was one category, even though if it has different ones. So as you can see here, AI it went in and figured out some different general instruction strategies for helping to improve student success in vocabulary comprehension and writing. They have explicit instruction. They have some different learning strategies you could use. The same thing with comprehension, and then with writing I also have ways for you to differentiate the instruction, help to bring in technology, collaboration, also assessment and feedback, which is nice, which is something that we really wanted to use. Now, I want to say taking those same three standards, what would be some intervention activities? So it asked about those, but those were not the ones that we want to do. So I'm going to go back up here and then copy this and copy that. And then go back here and I'm just going to paste it. I'm gonna say for the standards for what would be some intervention activities. And then what it's going to do is going to go through and go through those standards and then give intervention activities that you can do in groups for those specific standards to help students. And I'm gonna be like, what are some resources to use for these standards? Then it's going to go through and then also give specific resources for these standards. You can even expand it and take you directly to where you need to go, which is really, really nice. So you can literally go click on one of these, and here is a resource that you can use to help your students. And let's say if we want to differentiate instruction, how can we differentiate instruction? How can you differentiate instruction to meet the diverse needs of students within each of these? And then it's going to go through and for different diverse learning, there are different ways to differentiate each one of these standards. So that way we can use it in small group. So as you can see, by looking at a spreadsheet, we took three of our spreadsheets. We combined three of our spreadsheets together to make one spreadsheet. Once we made that one spreadsheet, then we kind of went in and we made us a rubric for a way for us to look at a way to separate students to take the data and a way to use this data to help us drive instruction for student success. We went through to the averages of corrected percentages of these data assessment, with green being above 70% for our students on target, yellow 50 to 69 students that need support, and red below 50%. With that being said, that means we can look at our standard here and match it up here. So you can even go through your standard. Here, if I know this is my first standard, and I know this is correlated with this, I can look at this standard and know that my students are in the yellow with this one. However, if I'm looking at this standard and I look here, I see that they are in the red, which means this standard is also in the red. The same for my green. If I'm looking here and I see the green, I can know that this standard is in the green, which means you can go through and also highlight this whole data set to also highlight your standard as well with your percentages. To just have a more visual, so that way I can look at my standard, be like, and look at this standard. So this standard I'm looking at, and I see, okay, so these are the students that need support with this standard, which means, let's say if I wanted to reteach something, if I wanted to reteach a whole group, I can look at my averages here and look at, okay, what standard do I might need to teach whole group? What standard do I not need to teach at all, or maybe just look over a little bit? And what standard can I look over in small groups? My yellow students that need support, I can look at this. I can reteach this in small group. If I'm looking at red below 50%, these students really need that help, which means this is something that I need to reteach whole group again and probably reassess them and then figure out where they are to see if they are either green or yellow. The ones in green, they are good. I probably can go back in with the ones in zero and pull those for small group, but overall, we do not need to reteach this as a whole group lesson. And basically what I did is also kind of use AI to help distinguish what standards it was that students needed more focus on. Then also finding instructional strategies to help improve student success in those standards, while also figuring out a ways to differentiate instruction with the standards, and um finding some intervention activities to use within intervention with those students. We also talked about some resources that we can even use um for those specific standards, and different differentiate instruction to help meet the diverse needs of students within each one of these standards as well. So all together, it shows how data can help drive instruction by helping to spot those students who may be struggling with specific standards, to help provide the necessary feedback and promote academic success for student growth and learning.